What is up, YouTube? We are back in the garage. It's a little bit warmer today. It's finally above freezing, so my hands are thawed out. So today we are getting back to the 1ZZ. As you can see, I got it all staged here. I got this surface cleaned up, all of the bearing seating surfaces cleaned up, and got some of my parts laid out here. So we are gonna be starting the rebuild on this 1ZZ. So before we dive into all of the new parts that are here, I do have to check some stuff. Check some bearing clearances, pretty much just to verify that the clearances are good. It's not a race motor, so it doesn't have to be anything special. I just want to make sure they're in tolerance. All right, guys, so as you can see, I got my piston rod here and I got my new bearings. I decided to go with Mahle. I've actually rebuilt one engine before and used this brand, and from what I've read, they're a really reputable brand and make really good products. So what you're going to do, basically what I'm doing to check clearances, and I'll show you on the rod bearing, but it's going to be the same process for the main bearings. As you can see, I have the new bearings installed into my rod, and I actually have the bolts torqued down. And so now what I'm going to do is take my little telescoping gauges here, you stick it in here, and you're going to do a little swipe to get the inside diameter. And then I take my micrometer, because these clearances go to 4 decimal places. Let me see here. Okay, so funny story. I don't have a micrometer that is the right size because these are less than 2 inches. Okay, well, so I lied. We're gonna kind of do this a little bit more makeshift. Okay, so you should be checking with a micrometer. For the sake of right now, I am going to check with a caliper. So this is kind of defeating the whole purpose. This isn't going to really tell me much because the decimals, they go to 4, but they don't really go to 4. Okay, so from what I can check, they're within a thousandth of each other, which yeah, unfortunately I just don't have a micrometer small enough. So for this build, which it's already the case, we're gonna just be a little sketchy and we're not gonna be checking clearances. So I ordered standard replacement bearings. They're the same thickness as the old bearings. So yeah, we're just gonna go for it and see what happens. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm some engine builder or anything. Obviously I didn't have the tools prepared, but I'm gonna get this engine together and we are just gonna hope and pray. So first things first, we got to get the main bearings into the block. So basically what I'm going to do here is wipe out the sections where the main bearings go. Got to be really careful not to get any dirt down in these oil holes because it's very hard to clean those. And these bearings get installed dry into these bearing seats. So there we go. Got my main bearings laid out here, Mahle main bearings, ones with the oil holes. Go down here. And we'll go ahead and get all 5 of those installed. There we go, all 5 are installed. Now we are gonna do the same thing here with our girdle. So the girdle is kind of serves as the main bearing cap. It's just all in one. So I'm gonna get the old bearings out of here, which I haven't done yet. And then we'll get our new bearings in. We'll get these surfaces nice and clean and get the new ones in. And there we go, all are in there. I got my crankshaft cleaned up. I used one of these straw brushes to clean out all of the oil galleys. So I'm just gonna wipe down the bearing surface and then we'll get this installed. Okay, so I got some engine assembly lube here. This stuff's real thick and really sticky, so it stays on the bearings until I get it running. All right, got those bearings lubed up, and now the crankshaft is going in. All right, so next we got our thrust washers, which basically keep the crankshaft from moving front to back. So I'm gonna put these in, get them lubricated, and they'll slide right into the center bearing. Okay, time to put RTV on and get the girdle on and seal this thing up. So up next are the main bolts. These can actually be reused. You just have to check this reduced shank here to make sure that it is within spec, and those are right in the repair manual. So I'm reusing mine, and I'm gonna stick all these in. And then of course always torque these to spec in the correct order. Just go by the repair manual. These are ones you definitely do not want to mess up. So that was the first sequence, 16 foot-pounds. There are 3 total more sequences to do, 32 foot-pounds and then 90 degree in 2 different sequences. All right, so next I am marking these with a paint marker, or I guess a silver Sharpie. That way I can keep track of my 90 degree final torquing on these. So basically just marking the 12 o'clock position on all of them, and then that way I know whenever it reaches the 3 o'clock, I've torqued them. 45. 45. All right, those are all torqued to 90 degrees, and go ahead and grab your socket and make sure your crankshaft still spins nice and easily. And that is a good sign. So it doesn't mean that we're doing everything perfect, but it's at least a good sign that nothing's bound up. Now we move on to the pistons, I believe. All right, guys, so the next step is to get the piston rings installed. There is a orientation of where you put the ring gaps. So I marked my one piston here. I got the second one done, and I'm gonna finish up these 2, and then we're gonna install them into the engine, and this is where things start getting serious. All right, I got my cylinder number 4 piston. Number 4, I marked it with my little punch whenever I took them out. And then I got my piston ring, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever. It's a little sleeve. Basically it squeezes the piston ring so they can slide right down into the bore. Makes it super easy. There we go. All right, all of the pistons and rods are in. I actually already got the caps on and the bolts in, and now I'm just torquing the cap bolts to 15 foot-pounds. And then 90 degrees, same as what I did with the main cap bolts. Once again, make sure your engine's spinning freely, and we are, which is a great sign because the whole rotating assembly is torqued down, and that's awesome. Okay, so now that we have a full rotating bottom end assembly, pistons, rods, crankshaft, the next step is putting the head on. Now, whenever you get an engine rebuilt, typically you need to get your head machined because whenever you unbolt that aluminum head, typically it's gonna have a lot of warpage in it. I actually picked up a head, no clue how many miles are on it, no clue the history. I got it cleaned up. This is from a Celica, which has the bigger valves, so keep that in mind if you're rebuilding a 1ZZ. But I actually have a straight edge here that is flat within 1,000th, and with that and a set of feeler gauges, I was able to check my block and my head, and both are flat within at least 1,000th, 2,000ths maximum, which with an engine like this, aluminum head, even if it was out 3-4 thousandths, it would pull itself down. So again, not a race engine, stock components. It will be making boost, but I believe both my head and my block are flat enough that I'm just gonna go with it. Uh-oh. What is up, YouTube? That was what I thought was the end of the video, but I am back and I decided I'm gonna go ahead and finish up this engine. I did off camera go ahead and put the cams in and torque down all of the cam caps. So those are spinning freely and it's starting to come together. Now what I have to do is actually set the timing of this engine. The reason I decided to do this right away, I was gonna leave this covered up and do it in a future video, but I decided to do this right away because Caleb, who actually bought my matrix from me, if you guys don't know that, I don't even remember if I told you guys that. My matrix I sold to a friend, the engine blew up, and he is putting in a new 1ZZ, and he put it in time and got zero compression on it. Similar problem to what I had on the Celica originally, with this engine actually. So I decided I'm gonna go ahead and put mine in time, make sure I know how to do it. That way I can possibly help him. So Caleb, if you're watching this, hopefully we figured it out. But if not, hopefully in this video we know why. So yeah, first thing I'm gonna do is get this engine in time. I think I have to torque these 2 bolts still. And then what I already did was got these gears kind of lined up. So there's a dot here with an EX, and then there's a dot on this one here. So I kind of lined those up together. They're supposed to be pointing together. And then I also went ahead and lined the keyway up to the top here on the crankshaft, which basically gets this engine to top dead center. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. I watched a couple of them and they seem to all match up. So I'm gonna try to do this by memory, see if I can get this engine in time. So I'm gonna torque those 2 bolts and I'll get the timing chain on and I'll be back. All right guys, so I went ahead and got the timing chain on. So basically what you're doing, I showed you these 2 gears lined up. I got my dark link on my melling chain lined up with each of those. So basically the double dot here, and then there's a single EX dot pointed at the dot on the variable valve timing gear. And then I also went ahead and got my little reluctor wheel, or whatever you want to call it on there, trigger wheel. And then I got my chain guides in. So now all that's left to do is leave it as it is and get my timing cover on so that I can put my tensioner in. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up and I'm gonna get this cleaned up. That way I can throw it on there. All right guys, so I was able to get the timing chain cover cleaned up and I actually went ahead and installed it. Don't mind my tensioner here. I do have a new one, but I just wanted to get the bolt in just to get all of the RTV sealed up. So pretty much just cleaned up the timing cover, RTV'd it, bolted it on. I got some fresh stainless steel hardware in here where I could, fit it. And I got a new seal in here. And now what's left for me to do is just to look down inside of here where my tensioner is installed, right here. And got to find the, oh, it looks like the little clevis already popped loose. So my tensioner is already putting tension on, which is good. So yeah, so the tension is on the chain now. All right guys, so I got tension on the chain, and from what I can tell, the engine spins over and creates compression. So it seems that it's in time. I'll probably spin it around one more time until it lines back up with where it's supposed to be, just to verify that everything's still in time. As far as I can tell, everything's working properly, and until I get my starter mounted up, I won't really be able to tell what compression it has. But that should be coming up very soon. I have some very cool parts for this engine, and it's going to start looking really complete, and you guys are going to start getting an idea of what my plan is for this thing. So, and that includes the starter and all of the new parts that are going to go on this engine, including manifolds, and I'm going to do some cool stuff with the valve cover. So hopefully that comes up soon. I do have a lot of other stuff I want to start working on. This MR2 I really need to get supercharged, so I got my superchargers laid out here, and I'm going to start getting this new genuine SC14 mounted up. Super excited for that. So I may put the 1ZZ on hold, but that's because I got a lot of other cool stuff to work on. So yeah, I'm gonna call it for this video. The 1ZZ is officially rebuilt. I'm gonna call it rebuilt now that it's in time. Just got to get the oil pan, a few other things on, but Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.